following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media
Network.
Network.
The Belly Up Sports Network. Listen in as Brent and Dave invite you to belly up to the bar with them to talk about everything in the world of sports, just like you would do at your favorite watering hole. It's sports, beer, and shenanigans. So belly up to the bar with us, grab a beverage, and let's get into it.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
The 1420 Sports Bar Podcast, Four Beer Sports Talk, and a whole lot more. Episode number 346. Tonight's show is brought to you, as always, by SeatGeek.com, the SeatGeek app. Use promo code 1420pod at SeatGeek.com today. Save yourself $20 on your first purchase. We are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Go to bellyupsports.com for all their great podcasts and great articles covering everything in the world of sports. And thank you very much to everyone who listens to these goofy shows we got going on here at 1420 World Headquarters. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts for everybody who takes the time out of their day to listen to whatever we got going on. Dave, fresh off the IL, you were down and out in Beverly Hills, the old movie that we watched in the 80s there. You were not doing so good, my friend. How are you doing today?
I'm coming around. The worst is over. I caught a cold/flu bug. And yeah, I was out. I was ineligible on Monday. I was a game time decision for Tuesday, and I couldn't pass the field test. It was a bit of a rough go for my sinuses and my throat, but I'm on the mend now, and I'm happy to be on the other end of that shit.
No, we were laughing off air. Like I had a bug when I got back to my sister's place in out in Vancouver Island last week, and I was sitting around and doing your work stuff and doing the things, and there was not enough Kleenex on the counter. Like no matter what, you're blowing your nose and blowing your nose. And over the years, as you get a little bit older, it's always marveled me how much snot the human body produces on a minute-to-minute basis, not on a day-to-day basis. Did you have that little situation with yourself with your little illness?
Holy Christ! Like it's a sinus cold, so I couldn't even breathe through my nose. But then you know what? When I'm sleeping, I don't know what it would open up, and it would be a river of fucking snot coming. It would wake me up. And I'm drugged right up because I was sick. Like my throat hurt, my head hurt, everything. So I drugged the fuck up to get to sleep. And then what woke me up was a fucking river of snot rolling down my nose onto my cheek and on the pillow. And I was like,
the river of dreams, Billy Joel.
Holy Christ. Maybe that wasn't a dream. That's a nightmare. Fucking snot rolling down my nose woke me up in a drugged up sick stupor. That's how much snot.
Like it's and the funny thing is, like we like, not that we act like we're tough or macho, or as if kids even use that word anymore, but it's funny how you're like, I'm fine, and then when something knocks you down, you're down. Like I had it last week, and it's just like, holy fuck me gently. It's not a good thing. It isn't. It's awful.
But I still went to work, and you put on a brave face, and then people know you're not well, but you suck it up and go to work. But I come home. Normally I'm around 10:30, 11 o'clock bedtime guy. Fuck, it was 8:39 since Sunday. Like this is the first time. Yeah, like this is the latest I'm going to be up since last Saturday.
Yeah,
how beat up I was.
When it hit me a week and a half ago there, I was it was a Wednesday night there, and I was like, I never lay down. Like I usually stand or I sit a little bit. But when me and Deanne watching, so once I sit down, I'm tired and I fall asleep. But I lay down on the couch about 6 o'clock one night, It was like what last Wednesday, and I didn't wake up until Thursday afternoon, kind of deal. Like I was just done. Like it was just, and it could be like we're stubborn, we're old, we just think we're not. We're invincible a little bit once you get to our age a little bit, and we've always had a like, oh, I never get sick. Well, you do. Like we're getting old. It's one of those things. We're getting old.
Yeah, and I have been sick before, but it's just I'd rather not take a couple of days off, but I couldn't pod this week. I couldn't curl this week, and like I say, I'm happy that I'm on the mend. I'm not 100%, but not the single digits we were on Monday there.
We'll have a couple of beers and get that thing out of you tonight, but enjoying the podcast here. We're going to, like we do on Thursday, get into it a little bit. Dave, here in Alberta right now, she's hunting season. I get a kick out of hunting. I've never been a hunter. I went once in my life. I almost got shot because I got between myself and a deer. I was pushing bush, they say. This was a long time ago with friend of the show, Poozer Stockton, down south of Fort McLeod there. And it was quite funny. I look at guys who go hunting, like you're driving around town, you see guys with their great big trucks, and they have their guns on the rack, and some of them have deer in the back of their truck they've already shot, and they're all wearing camouflage. And I've always wondered, is there a test? Is there a test if camouflage actually works? Like, is anybody actually, do they know? And hear me out for a little bit here, because I know that you're going to probably call me dumb for saying this, but at the end of the day, isn't the deciding factor the gun? Like, if you are a hunter, you have a gun and the deer doesn't. Like, is camouflage the deciding factor, or is the gun the deciding factor?
The gun, you can wear fluorescent yellow.
I agree,
right?
I know you're not a hunter either, so I'm just.
I'm not. But you know what? And I've walked through places, and you know what I bump into? Deer, like so close I could shoot them with a fucking slingshot, and I'm not camouflaged. I'm not in a fucking nest. Like I've bumped into deer.
Well, there's deer here in the 1420 World Headquarters in the backyard here that just show up out of nowhere. They're not scared of people.
10 times a year, I'm
the
so
gun's
close
the
to
deciding factor, is it not?
I get so close to a deer I can kick them. It's how close I get to deer in my neighborhood.
Yeah, whoever decided that camouflage was needed to go hunting, they put the biggest scam on mankind, I think, because I find like what's the big one in Calgary there, the big at Cross Iron
Bass.
Big Billy Bass ass or whatever it's called.
Pro Bass,
yeah.
Is that what it's called?
I personally, if you're a hunter, get back to us at 1420sports@gmail.com, because I actually think that you could just wear a pair of shorts or a pair of pants and go hunt, grab a gun, shoot a deer, get home. You don't need to spend money on camouflage. I don't.
Listen, hunting, golf, and fishing, you can spend as much money as you want. And you might never be good, but you can always spend as much money as you want. I need a new driver. I need a new rifle. I need new camouflage. I need a new fucking ice fishing hunt. All you're doing is fucking spending money for the sake of trying to get some time by yourself away from the wife, right?
It's funny. It's funny you brought up fishing, and we'll get into the nuts and bolts of the show here in a little bit, Dave. But my dear dad, I miss him dearly. But we one of the last times we went out Beaver Mines Lake there, and he had all the stuff and the lures and this and that. And Jim, the producer, the sound guy, he was there with us. My sister was there that day, and we were skating around, having a good time. And we didn't get a bite. And Dad had the auger, the whole thing, not a fucking nibble. Like, not a nibble all day long. It's like, oh, well.
Did you have a little tent or something to be protected?
He had one, but it was a nice day that day, so we didn't bother.
Oh, okay.
Put it out that day. It was Boxing Day.
No wind.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was a beautiful day. and like not a bite. So I'll try again tomorrow. Like we would have had like it was fun, and we went to the Old Man River Brewery afterwards that day, and everything. It was great. But yeah, you're right. Like that, you can spend all the money you want, but eventually, like the wildlife's going to decide whether or not you're successful that day.
Well, and like to find successful, you just spend $2,500 to hand back 3 fish.
Yeah, we didn't catch a thing. Like not a nibble. Like not a nibble. And then go over there and go. Anyways, well, it was a great time with Dad. We had a really good time. Played Django over the Old Man Brewery there, and it was a lot of laughs that we had that day. Dave, there's other problems in Alberta, not just fishing and hunting, but my oh my! Since we talked last, the Edmonton Oilers have got rid of your main man, Soupy Campbell. Not got rid of him, but they put him on waivers for the reason for getting sent down to the minors, and he's down to the minors now. That team is a wreck. They're playing the San Jose Sharks tonight, and when people hear this, there'll be an outcome to that game. But the San Jose Sharks are historically bad right now. They've given up 10 goals on a couple occasions last week, and it hasn't been good in San Jose land. They finally got their first win on, I think it was Tuesday night against the Philadelphia Flyers. But if the San Jose Sharks win tonight, they will be tied with the Edmonton Oilers with the exact same record, with a payroll of like $48 million. And payroll doesn't matter, but you have two of the best players in hockey, and it's not disputable. And the San Jose Sharks, if they win tonight, will be tied with the Edmonton Oilers.
They would probably possess the tiebreaker, so they would be technically ahead of the Oilers in the standings.
It's crazy.
And it's ridiculous. And as we know, my status with that team, I want them to do well, but I am just so grateful to the gods that I am not married to this team anymore. In fact, I have a ridiculous amount of Schadenfreude. I've been saying for fucking ever, you got no D, you got no goalie. You got no D, you got no goalie. You got no D, you got no goalie. And then what did I say last year when the Oilers lost to Vegas? They got out-coached and out-goalied. Do you know what's happening this year through 10 games? They're getting out-coached and out-goalied. I see that. And tell me I'm wrong.
It's crazy to watch that. Like, and the other night, like I was it Monday night Monday night. You watch that game, and I was back and forth with my dear mother, texting a little bit, and I said, "This Oiler team looks like they're playing for their coach's life," because they came out flying against Vancouver. Vancouver's had a very good start to their season, and the shots were 15 to 1 at one point, and finally the Oilers scored when it was 1-0. And then it was 19-5 shots on goal with 5 minutes left in the first period, and it was 3-1 for Vancouver. You're like, what the fuck just happened here? Like, I literally turned my head, doing whatever I was doing here at World Headquarters, because we didn't record on Monday night. I was like, geez. It was 3-1, and the rest was history. And you can't blame McDavid. You can't, or actually, you know what? Let's quit giving him a free pass. He has 2 goals this season. Yes, he was hurt for a couple of games and he didn't play. And I think he's still injured a little bit. There's something not right there. But at the end of the day, that team finally has not outscored their problems.
That's exactly it. I don't care what kind of goalie or what kind of system. Woodcroft is out coaching himself. If you follow along, he's trying to institute this defensive system that the Vegas Golden whatevers are running, and the team is clearly not adapting to it. And then it's time to fucking maybe pull the e-brake and say, hey, let's get back to what we did last year, because at least we were winning fucking games. You got it, and these goalies, you can't. I get it. Aiden Hill won the Golden Knights a cup last year, but it's obviously not going to be Skinner in this. Like it's any goalie can do it. It has to be the right goalie in the right situation, and the Oilers don't have that. And they're fucked on D. They have that Ekholm and an overpaid Nurse. They're fucked. They are fucked. And they can only like lose maybe 20 more and make the playoffs.
They got to
behind
play
already.
about 750 hockey through the last, I think it's last 68 games this season. That's a lot of wins.
You bet.
And it's crazy. And I we talk about it in baseball a lot, not so much in football, because you can string 4 or 5 wins together in a football season and get to 9 and 8, 8 and 9, whatever it is, make the playoffs. But if you have a situation in hockey where you got to play 750 hockey, because you're not even at a point now with the Oilers that you haven't even had injury problems yet, because every team gets them. You haven't had a problem with bad attitudes yet. You haven't had a problem with players whose wives are a little bit bitchy about whatever Christmas, the holiday season. Like there's a lot that can happen in a 25-man roster that the NHL has, and they're like they're screwed. They're actually screwed.
Well, and I feel for McDavid because he had those official off-team time workouts this summer. Everybody was flying to Edmonton or Toronto, wherever the fuck he was.
Captain skates, yeah.
Captain skates and stuff like so he's all in on this too, McDavid. And you can tell that poor fuck. Like, how isn't this working? Like, because he put in the effort very publicly, saying we are bringing this fucking cup home this year. But you're not bringing shit home with an .870 save percentage. Like, you just simply are not.
Those are when your goaltender has Radlinski type numbers, AJHL 1992 numbers, you ain't gonna do very good. And when he's allergic to fucking vulcanized rubber, it's a bad look. And I'm glad you brought up Darnell Nurse. And like, I think Nurse is a good
serviceable.
He's a good National Hockey League defenseman. But as much as you talk about the McDavid contract, he's 12 and a half, and on it goes. Darnell Nurse is actually the player that's actually screwing that team over with that contract. I'm not saying he shouldn't get paid, because you know what? Somebody said give it to him, so he's going to take it. But that $9.5 million that he's making actually is hurting the Edmonton Oilers more than any other contract, and I think in the National Hockey League, because he's a very good player, but not $9.5 million good.
He's 3.5 good, right? So that's 2 and a someone else.
It's a couple
right?
players.
You can pay 2 players to do his job, right? Figure it out. It's an albatross, and the myopic Oiler fans, it's just like they're actually the Edmonton Oilers are actually out of excuses. They're absolutely out of excuses.
Yeah,
it's just saying we don't have a fucking clue what we're doing.
What I find what I find funny about the Oilers thing, and we talked about it a lot over the 3.5 years this stupid fucking show we're doing, is that the Oilers have a problem right from the top. They have a bunch of fucking jock sniffers and ball huggers and everything else, and Hockey Canada guys, and you're looking, and they went out and hired, for some unknown reason, they went out and got Ken Holland. And why Ken Holland is held to this high standard, I will never understand. I can compare Ken Holland a lot to, I look at this shit over my shoulder here. I can compare Ken Holland a lot to Brian Cashman. Yeah, you're great. Yeah, you won championships in Detroit. Yeah, Cashman, you won a bunch of championships with the Yankees. But you know what you're allowed to do when you're in Detroit? Win championships, because your owner said go and spend a bunch of money before the cap was a thing. You haven't done an actual fucking bit of being a management at all. And I will say that 1,000 times. You have not done a thing without being able to spend above the cap.
That's a perfect comparison because, Ken Holland, with all that, obviously he fell into a really good situation there in Detroit, and he understood it. He built it. He did awesome, and he won with late draft picks like Lidstrom and Zetterberg and Datsuk, but to carry on the tradition. But then once salary cap became a thing, he was fucked. He didn't understand how to he couldn't understand how to manage a cap because he never had to. And then in typical Daryl Katz jock sniffing fashion, oh, you want a bunch? I have a lot of money. Oh yeah, like fuck, I love working for owners with lots of money. Oh yeah, I can't spend it on whatever I want anymore. So, we'll see how this works.
No, I think it's astonishing to me how this happens year in, year out with these fucking guys that have a situation where they I was great. Like Glenn Sather, we talked about this before. Before we started this, and actually before there was the internet, we talked about it. That's how long we've been friends. That Glenn Sather said back in 1990, whatever it was, if I had the payroll of the New York Rangers, I could be the like it would sound like every year. Not once did he win a cup with the Rangers, and not once, not once. And then he became the manager, the GM, and the president of the Rangers after he said that and didn't win a fucking thing. Like it's crazy to me that these guys, and hockey recycles these guys, and it's not just hockey, it's every sport, but the hockey recycles these guys through and through, over and over, and they fail. They fucking fail. And it's a jock sniffing fucking GMs or owners that pull this guy out, like like the only guy that's ever actually kind of got anything is Lou Lamoriello, being the godfather of hockey. One of those things. He's the only guy to succeed a little bit. But this Holland guy, it's crazy to me that he gets free reign. Well, I wanted Detroit. Well, yeah, you had Steve Yzerman and Shanahan and an open checkbook.
Yes.
Right? An open checkbook. You haven't done anything with a closed checkbook.
That's been the Oilers' way, though, right? To not make smart decisions. And that's why we got divorced. It's just, if you're going to continue to do this shit, Ken Holland, so what do you do now? You got to fire Hall. You got to fire fucking everybody because we have 1 year of Draisaitl and 2 years of Connor.
McDavid is gone. As good as gone.
You got to think.
I was going to talk about some different things. Let's do that. If they don't win this year, which they're not, they're not. I mean,
let's pretend they miss the playoffs. If they miss the playoffs,
yeah, let's do hypothetical. 14-20 hypothetical on the 9th day of November. The Oilers miss the playoffs. McDavid says, "I'm leaving. I'm not playing here." He pulls the Eric Lindros circa 1992. I'm not 91. Sorry, I'm not playing here for one more second. I'm too good. My legacy is this. I've regressed in my career. I'm leaving. What do the Oilers do?
Do you even talk to, how about you say, wow, come on, Connor, please, we'll trade Draisaitl, and what do you want? He goes,
no, he's my best friend. I'm leaving. Because they're at that point, Dave.
I was thinking about that today. It's just what do you do? Would you blame Connor McDavid? But you have to blame him. Now, I think you do have to blame him a little bit because he's sold the dream, and then but goalies, right? I haven't watched a lot of games, but from what I've been reading too, they're saying the Oilers, this new structural system is not working, and they're giving up a lot more chances. They're not they're not fully bought into this new defensive style. So as to so they're getting out goalied and out coached every single game by teams that are shittier than them.
You know, like I was watching the game on Monday night when they played the Canucks there, and I had Jeff Patterson there from the Canucks there the next day, and the Oilers were playing on Monday night like they were playing for their coach's life. They outshot they literally outshot the Canucks. It was 15-1 at one point. They finally got a goal, and it was 1-0 Canucks or 1-0 Oilers. Sorry. And then 3 shots later, it was 3-1 for the Oilers or for the Canucks. And you're like, well, all right. And then the game was over. Like it's astonishing to me. It's absolutely. And like you talked about the captain skates that McDavid had and everything else. Like it's how hot. Let's get off this in half a second here, but like how these quote unquote great hockey minds can get it so wrong, because everybody, you go to Elliot Friedman, you go to fucking Jeff Merrick, you go on and on and on and on it goes. You go to Bizanet and you go to Whitney from Spit and Chicklets, all on everybody. Everybody said the Oilers are winning the cup this year, and they're not. Like, how are the talking heads so wrong? Like, how? Like, I'm asking. I'm actually asking. Like, how? Like, the talking heads are usually kind of right, but how is this went so sideways?
Goaltending, and coaching, because I don't get it. You know, and that's so you're expecting him is this coaching style to score 7 goals a game, but now like McDavid, who's missed some games and is a little dinged up, like, and it's just everything's just gone so wrong. Like Hopkins with his 100-point season last year, like he's invisible.
He's got 2 points.
It's just a real head scratcher. It really is. Aside from the shitty goaltending, that was apparent. Everybody knew that.
Well, there's an old saying we've said it on this show 1,000 times. You show me a good goalie, I'll show you a good coach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they blew it with Soupy, and he was not good. But what was funny was I got a kick out of Jason Strudwick on Edmonton radio. There, he was an ex NHLer, and he's funny as all hell. He said, "How bad of a warm up did Soupy have? He got sent down to the minors, and he was just the backup that night. like how bad of a warm up did he have? You know, it's just funny. It's crazy." Dave, let's go 2 hours down or 3 hours down the highway down to Calgary. I got to give a tip of the cap, the 14-20 kick tip of the cap to Ryan Huska, rookie head coach, been around the game for a long time. But I got to give a tip of the cap 100% in the third period of that game the other night with the Nashville Predators, where he sat Jonathan Huberdeau for the third period, because Huberdeau was awful once again. $10.5 million sitting on the bench. I gotta give full kudos, because Huska's playing for his career, right? He's coaching for his career, and he's been around the game for a long time, like I said. But he said, you know what? I've had it with this fucking guy. He hasn't done the thing. I'm not going to let him push me out of this fucking city. I'm not going to let him push me out of this job. I thought Huska putting him on the bench, it probably had to go through a few other people before he was allowed to do that. But I think that Huska maybe before that game started on Tuesday night, that he said, if he's not playing well, I'm benching him. And Huska did it, and the Flames ended up winning a hockey game that they were down 2-0 on. What's your thoughts on that?
It's so if I was a Flames fan, I would be so encouraged by that, because obviously the Huberdeau play we've mocked how his lack of production in the Flames and this $10 million contract and how fucked they are. It like you said, like it was talked about. It's so good because that means Conroy's in on it. There's no way a rookie head coach sits a
Make that call.
guy like literally 11 games into an 8-year contract of 10.5 per. And then Conroy for sure said, like, if you think you got to bench him, do what you got to do. We got to get this fucker going. And might as well, because what's Huberdeau gonna say? Like, I was contributing. You're not. He's awful. we laughed at Darnell Nurse. Like, this is to the power of 10 of that on value on contract.
No, it was astonishing. And then the post game comments, like after the Flames won that game, they scored 3 goals in the third period that night. And with Huberdeau on the bench, it's not a surprise. It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that the guy didn't contribute at all. And the biggest thing for me about that was the way he was being I'm going to say it. He was being a bit of a cocksucker, hanging his head and everything else. You know what? You're making $10.5 million. Put your head up. Look, be part of the team. Like hiding behind the bench and everything else. I thought he was a bit of a bad look, and it was not it's not something you want to look forward to for the next 8 years with Huberdeau. I thought it was a bad look on him. The Flames came back and won, and it's all champagne and caviar and everything else. But we talked about it last week. That's 8 more years of that shit.
8 more, like completely, like it's so long. There has to be a solution here. Like maybe get him a life coach or something like that, because he has to get out of his head, because that's clearly where this is. And I'd be surprised if he doesn't have someone that he's taking advice from of how to mentally prepare yourself. But whatever the fuck you're doing, Huberdeau, switch it up, because this is garbage. Like, and the proof is in the pudding. The team was better without you. And then so we're paying you. Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to be a pariah for the rest of your life, or do you want to do something about it? And he has to figure that out.
The Flames aren't a playoff team, in my opinion. And you look at we haven't talked for quite some time, actually, for a week now. And then last Friday, Johnny Gaudreau, he got himself benched out there in Columbus, which was quite funny to me, and found out the grass isn't always green on the other side. Would put your GM hat on, Dave, because you're a highly intelligent guy. Would you make a call to Columbus, because the contract's the same? Would you make a call to Columbus and say, you know what? Let's do a 1-for-1. Johnny Hockey for Jonathan Huberdeau. Johnny for Johnny.
Oh, I'd make that phone call in a heartbeat if I was Calgary. Would you want Huberdeau though?
Well, and that's what's funny is that you look at that when the trade happened a summer and a half ago with Florida, when we talked about before, where Florida went, yeah, here's a leading scorer, and you're giving us a draft pick too.
Mm-hmm.
What? Like what? Yeah, here. Yeah, you can take our leading scorer. Like, so there must be something wrong with that.
You got to think, right? You got to think, like, he's terrible. He's fucking terrible. Like, I listened to that barn burner, they talk about it, and it's like,
oh, they hate him.
Well, they're very critical. It's just like I watch him play, and it's like, this guy got 105 points in the league. Like
115, man.
How does this guy even on a fucking roster is how bad he is. It gets funny, like listening to Rhett Warner describe it. Like, I played with
I love Rhett Warner. That's
he
one thing
cracks me up.
The one thing about, and was talking to a guy from Toronto today about this, about old school hockey players, how they aren't afraid to lay into to these new school kids at all. They're like these entitled little pricks. They fucking do whatever they want, and when it comes to playing with the big boys, they can't get it done. And you look at, we'll get off this in half a second, Dave, but you look at teams that win. Vegas was a bunch of big, mean guys last year. Bunch of Western League kids, and they had a lot of Western League kids. And Kelly McCrimmon, the GM of the Vegas Golden Knights, GM and president, bunch of big, mean kids, right? And just one of those things. And then you look at the St. Louis, the St. Louis Blues from a few years back, and the Gloria years, and Laura Branigan won that Stanley Cup for them, in my opinion. But a bunch of big, mean kids, and you look at these other teams, you're like, you guys are a bunch of pussies. They're a bunch of pussies. Like it's I don't think it's been hard over the years to figure it all out.
How bad do you want to win? And that's when you find out in the playoffs, right? Like, how bad do you want to win? And then, because the talent level is so high at that level, especially in the second, third round, how bad do you want to win? And then the sacrifices you make, the physical thing, and just being mentally sharp and not fucking around, you're a robot for the playoffs. And like, how bad do you want to win? And I think no other playoff encapsulates that more than the Stanley Cup playoffs.
And that's the biggest. That's 100% true. Like the Stanley Cup, winning the cup's hard. It's really hard. It's I still think it's the hardest trophy in sports to win, in professional. Like the Memorial Cup's another thing, but winning Stanley Cup's a very, very tough thing to do. And you see these kids that they fucking try, and you look at that Tampa Bay Lightning team. Yeah, it's 1.5 cups and everything else, but those boys play hard. Like Stamkos isn't afraid to punch a guy in the face to win a Stanley Cup.
Oh, and
you see other teams
every check. Yeah.
No, it's crazy. Where do you think the like if we were sitting around the Christmas time? Christmas, Jesus fuck, we're only 6 weeks away from Christmas. But if we're sitting around the bar, we go in and have a couple, maybe have an eggnog and rum or whatever it might be, come Christmas time. Where do you see the Oilers being 6 weeks from now?
500, like, but still like 8 points back of a playoff spot.
It's crazy. Like they are 7 games under 500 with 2 of the best players to ever play the game.
10 games into the season, like 7 games, like they're 2-8 for fuck's sake. They're 2-8.
2-8, 2-9, and they play San Jose. And San Jose is actually trying to fucking blow it for whatever reason because they just stink. If San Jose wins tonight, like you said, San Jose is ahead of them in the standings.
This is the earliest, biggest game of the year ever. A team with no expectations versus a team with high expectations.
It's
and
the
low
biggest,
expectation.
It's the biggest 2-win versus 1-win game in the history of the National Hockey League.
Because Mike Greer came in and chewed some ass on the weekend and saying, like, I get it. We're not good,
best.
But I need to see some fucking effort. Like 2 10-goal, giving up 10 goals 2 games in a row. That's because of lack of effort, and I'm fucking tired of it. And I'm taking names, and then they beat Philly the next day. So they got a bit of a charge.
He plays the Oilers. I love Rosie. He was a great player.
Yeah, he was just serviceable, right? He was a guy that
not a great player. He was a good player, right? Like he was a good player,
right? Yeah. It's a guy you wanted on your team.
Boston College, I think.
Yeah, you weren't going to win a cup with a team full of Greer.
Rosie Greer was not winning you a cup, but he would help you to win a cup.
He wasn't hurting.
Yeah, Rosie Greer. Anyways, the 1420 Sports Bar podcast. For Brewers Sports talking a whole lot more. Dave, prediction tonight. That game could go one of two ways by the time people hear this tomorrow. I think it's going to go one or two ways. Sharks win 2-1, 3-2, or Oilers win 12-1, and McDavid sets a new record-breaking Darryl Sittler's record from 1981 or whatever it was.
No,
I hope, for me, for being content guy and everything else, I hope the Oilers lose tonight.
I think if the Oilers lose, it's going to be like 7-6.
That bad, eh?
If the Oilers
San
win,
Jose can't score 7. They've only scored 14 all season.
But the Oilers goalies can't stop pucks either, right?
Skinner's bad.
And then what do you do, right? Like, and who's your backup? What if they score 2 quick ones on Skinner and now they got
Calvin
I don't
Pickard.
know who? Yeah, the e-bug. They're asking. They're making sure they're on familiar terms with him. But nonetheless, I kind of wouldn't mind seeing San Jose win this game. Like,
I'm 100%.
4-2.
100%.
Just to hear it, just to listen.
To see
like, what do
oil
you do?
country burn down.
Yeah,
and I'm an Oilers guy, and you are too. Like, you I know you're divorced.
Same.
So you still have, your heart of hearts. Anyways, the 1420 Sports Bar podcast. For Brewers Sports talking a whole lot more. This game just started right now. For Brewers Sports talking a whole lot more. The segment is brought to you by SeatGeek.com. The SeatGeek app. Use promo code 1420pod at SeatGeek.com today. They lose 3-1. 3-1. Darnell Nurse scores the only goal for the Oilers tonight.
No, they lose 5-3, and San Jose gets an empty netter.
And then the entire Oilers team gets on a bus to where's their farm team? San Bernardino something, whatever it is.
Something in California.
In California, yeah. And you guys are going here, and then those guys are going there. Fuck. What a wreck.
It's
Anyways.